we can't allow any further delay. So stop your waiting.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. This is episode 89. Today is Thursday, February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. I'm meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Camila Ortiz. Hey Camila.
Hello, Jeff.
And Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson. Hey Mark.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there.
Yeah.
Post Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. And I just want to give a shout out to my wife, Katie. Happy birthday to Katie.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Happy birthday, Katie.
Yeah, I always have the double whammy. I got Valentine's Day and then Katie's birthday back to back every year.
Oh, that's nice. You could just combine them. How convenient is
more
that?
Or less. Yeah, don't tell her that. Don't tell her
Just doing
that.
like an extra big bouquet of flowers or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
or
nice.
Or two. Okay, there's a lot to go over and unpack in this podcast and previous forecasts and what's ahead. We're going to start off by talking about there was a winter weather advisory issued by the National Weather Service for the metro area. That was issued Wednesday morning. And I know Mark has a lot of thoughts on that, so stay tuned for that part.
So many feelings.
Let the record show that at first, Camila, when I was talking to Jeff about prep for this podcast, we don't just wing it, we actually plan it. And I wanted to put WTH, well, that was my second option, WTH question mark with snow yesterday, but Jeff was like, he's just more professional, basically. So
yeah,
continue.
That's good. I'm glad that he was able to bring you down just a little bit.
Let's dial it back a little bit for the families out there.
For the kids that listen to the podcast.
Right.
Yeah, let's keep it PG.
I know that we often show a winter storm warning in the Cascades or a winter weather advisory in the Coast Range, and it doesn't always, for me, I don't always know what the numbers, what the criteria is for each watch, warning, advisory. I'm sure a lot of you at home don't either. So we were going to kind of go over some of those. It really depends on the region, what forecast area we're looking at. So that'll be next up in the podcast. We're going to talk about snowy conditions in the Cascades, snow that's already accumulated, more to come. We're going to talk about the state of the mountain snowpack and then the long range forecast. So let's get right into it. Okay. Yeah, yesterday morning, Andy and I were in the studio. Good Day Oregon was, we were right in the heart of Good Day Oregon, and all of a sudden a winter weather advisory comes in by the National Weather Service. I texted, I think the group, or I texted Mark. I don't really know what I did.
I was asleep.
We were not, it didn't feel like we were trending toward a winter weather advisory. It felt like we were trending more toward a cold rain event and snow staying confined to the Coast Range, Cascades, and Gorge. But sure enough, they went with it. It stayed in effect through much of the night. And, Camila, grab the popcorn because Mark has a lot to say, I think.
I just have to say, if you're, a follower, right, of our weather, about Mark's blog post. And that was probably one of the sassier blog posts I have seen. It was real entertaining. So, yeah, Mark.
What? Crappy GFS? Is that what really did that set the mood? That wasn't real professional.
Crappy GFS model.
Tell us how you really feel.
Throwing shade all over it.
I'll tell you, Jeff is so professional because when I got up, and we should point out, I had yesterday off because it was Valentine's Day. Jeff works until about 10 a.m. Okay, so Jeff's working in the morning. Camila, she was prepping to work in the afternoon. Same with Katie. And so I get up, make my coffee. I'm making my coffee, and I check my phone. And the first thing I think is from you, Jeff. I think it was your text that says, winter weather advisory from the Weather Service. Like, what? And I'm like, what? Because I had these plans for Valentine's Day, of course.
I want to preface this really quick. I want to preface this by saying we appreciate all the work that the National Weather Service does. There are great meteorologists there. But sometimes we're, and yesterday is an example of it. Our forecast did not completely align with their forecast, and it put us in a corner. It felt like.
Here's the deal. The Weather Service has, actually it would be really nice to get somebody on. We could do it in a non-confrontational, non-aggressive way, I suppose. I have somebody from the Weather Service on. We'd love to chat. Just like, okay, so there's been a shift in the Weather Service. I don't think it's just Portland. It's the whole National Weather Service saying, and for scientifically, this is correct. When we have events or any significant weather, we should give the range of possibilities because it isn't true that we could have said yesterday, nope, not going to snow, no chance. right? We all knew scientifically there was a chance, all right, because, some models were kind of hinting maybe it could stick. It was pretty close. So there's a chance, right? Even when it rains at 40 degrees, there's a tiny chance, 3% chance it could change to snow and stick, right? There's almost always a small chance.
Yeah.
So what the Weather Service is doing, and for good reason, I understand what they're doing. I've seen this at weather conferences. They want to give more of a range of possibilities to give, and their confidence level as well. So they've started doing this. I've really noticed it this winter, not just with snow, but other events, wind, rain. Rain's a little easier because it just rains or doesn't, and how much. But the snow. So this is a graphic they sent out. Now, I don't know who this goes out to because it was not on their webpage. It was not, I don't think it was. It was not on their webpage. It was not on their Twitter feed. It was not on their Facebook feed or whatever it's called page. But this goes out to, I think, emergency managers, and I get it in the media. I don't know if this just goes to us. I don't know if this was broadly sent out. But their key points, this is yesterday morning. This is Valentine's morning. Chances have increased for impactful accumulations. Now 30 to 50% chance of up to 3 inches for Portland, Vancouver Metro tonight through Thursday. So remember, even if this is just meant for emergency managers and media, I think here's the issue. And here too. 30 to 60% chance of 1 inch or more snow accumulation. If I'm a regular person, if I work for the city of Portland, if I work for ODOT, if I work for PBOT, Portland Bureau of Transportation, I look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a decent chance we're going to shut down the city at some point tonight through Thursday, through the evening commute or beyond into Thursday morning. So I think the problem is the worst, and the Weather Service is supposed to do this, they should give us a worst case scenario, right? I think the problem is we all would regular people, not meteorologists, regular people would gravitate towards that and say, oh gosh, and pretty soon in your mind, that's the forecast, right? So people gravitate towards the worst case scenario. Even though the confidence there, low to moderate, is relatively low confidence. And in fact, this graphic was in that same email that came out, which says, oh my gosh, it's going to snow in Portland this evening, or could snow in Portland this evening, maybe only an inch or less, or maybe several inches. So that all went out. This was on their webpage from actually, so this would happen Wednesday afternoon. This was on their webpage Tuesday at noon. So this is more than 24 hours ahead of time. I'd seen this one, rain or snow. And this is kind of a nice graphic. 90% chance of, 35 to 40 degrees, an inch of rain, which is exactly what happened, right? 90% chance, that's fair. 10% chance of 4 to 6 inches and temperatures around freezing, the city shuts down. I think, don't you kind of, if you're a regular person, you kind of gravitate towards that. That's my theory. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of people are snow enthusiasts. Not everybody, of course, but I'd say a good chunk of the population. And people tend to wish cast. They hope for something to happen in the forecast. So I agree with you, Mark. We see that chance, and we put most of our attention on it as opposed to the traditional standard rain, cold rain that we see typically in the wintertime.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, Mark, 30 to 60%, anytime I see that anything that's over 50%, I'm going, we should prepare for that possibility. I agree. 1 in 2 is a decent chance, I
agree. So then, and so I think that's a messaging issue. I don't think they're doing anything wrong in that case, but the problem is that worst case scenario becomes the forecast, or what we're all hearing. So then they put up the winter weather advisory. Here was the problem. Several problems I see. One is the crappy GFS. So this is what the GFS was showing. I don't think it's just the GFS in that. I think it's the looking at these snow maps, and I'll get to the snow map thing in a minute. But this was yesterday morning's GFS forecast. You look at that, you go, wow, 2 inches of snow in the metro area north, maybe to Kalama, right? I mean, this is a pretty low res model compared to some other models. This is 13-kilometer resolution. I mean, it's not terrible. But you look at that, but then you look at the high-res models. Our graph showed nothing, little or nothing. There were hints from the graph, like, could it stick on the hills? Maybe. I remember that one run, Jeff, was it the 6Z, was kind of like, maybe the top of the West Hills, maybe. Hills around Gresham. That pretty reliable wharf showed nothing in the lowlands. And, of course, these two were correct. But the GFS was not alone. The Euro ensembles, you look at those, and the Euro does tend to produce, I think, in these marginal situations, too much snow. I got 2 more graphics for that. But look how the Euro ensemble average, this was from when I worked Tuesday night, the 0Z run. And it's averaging 1.8 inches over the metro area. I mean, that's quite a few members. I always look for the blue, like, okay, 2 inches or more. I mean, there's quite a few members that had over 2 inches. But here's one problem with, like, when you look at these snow maps, and this is for now I'm speaking to the weather geeks. These snow maps are a big issue because it's just kind of a guess. Each forecasting, each model done, that is put out by different organizations may have different parameters for what is sticking snow, at what temperature does snow stick, and we call it accumulating for the purposes of making a graphic like this. I mean, it showed a ½ inch of snow by 8 p.m. last night, right? That's the Euro. Well, look at the temperatures at the same time. It's 36, 37 degrees. So you need to look at temperatures, soundings, and the sounding overhead was too warm, as I recall. I don't have this here, but it was too warm. I immediately dismissed this when I saw it because the sounding was too warm, and the temperatures were too warm.
This is not the best way to break it down, but to simplify what Mark is saying, when we're 5 to 7 days out or more, we tend to use lower resolution models. It would be like taking a television from the 1990s and watching the Super Bowl. But if you were to grab a 1080p high def, large, big screen TV today, which one would you rather watch the Super Bowl on, the high definition TV or the one from the 90s? When we're within 3 or 2 days to a weather event or one day with if a weather event is going to play out tomorrow, are we going to take that high definition or high resolution computer model or a number of them and look at them? Or are we going to base the forecast off of a low resolution model? Right. Not saying the Weather Service did that, but it did feel like we had all of these high resolution models we were looking at, and they were all screaming it's going to be too warm in the metro area to support sticking snow.
And I was going to say that compare this to like January 2017 or what we just had last February. Uh-oh.
Savi. Is that Savi?
Now it's quiet.
Yeah, that's Savi.
So compare this to last February when we expected a little snow, remember? And then we got a whole bunch. I think we had 10 inches officially. But the deal there was there were many hints from several different models like, hey, something big might be up. All right. Whereas in this case, no model was showing significant snow except that GFS. So there were strong hints in this case that like nothing was going to happen. That's why when I looked at my phone yesterday morning, I'm like, what? They're going with the very snowiest model. So I don't know. I just think that's a messaging issue, and the Weather Service has to kind of figure out. Yes, sometimes we are going to get burned. It's going to snow more than expected, but we can't cry wolf every time there's a small chance, or that's going to be a big issue, and people won't believe us when we do actually have a pretty significant chance of a big event. One other thing, one last point. I keep saying one last point because I have like 4 more, but we didn't have a big source of cold air coming in from the east. You notice Portland just sat at 38 to 40 degrees all night long with that east wind. It just wasn't that cold of an east wind, and that was perfectly forecast. But our graph models showed us sitting in the upper 30s to around 40 through this whole event, and that's exactly what happened.
So to give the Weather Service just a little bit of credit with their thinking, they were seeing an inversion in the morning that was kind of trapping some of the cold air. But, what I was saying to Andy and various people, I was saying if that temperature pops up into the 40s and matches what some of our high resolution models are showing, we're going to really struggle to get down close to freezing. And sure enough, I think we ended up at 47 degrees yesterday.
It mixed out really quick. It was very dry air, so then it cooled quickly with the evaporational cooling. But yeah, it was, and that was well forecast too. Our model showed us peaking at midday. Low 40s. They were actually a little too cool with that easterly.
The temperatures overachieved yesterday, I would say. So,
which is funny. That didn't help.
No.
Yeah, Jeff, what was our official low temperature this morning in Portland?
I'll check while we sit here.
Was it maybe 37, 38?
Yeah.
It just sat there in the upper 30s all night.
Yeah.
In fact, here's a hint that it's not that cold of an air mass coming through the gorge. I'm sitting here at 1,000 feet. It's all rain now, so obviously it's warmed a little bit overhead. And if I don't even have freezing rain or snow here, you're not going to get snow down in the city of Portland in this setup unless we had some super heavy precip, but models weren't showing that.
37, by the way, was the
37.
So that was the low.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it was interesting. Hopefully we can all learn from, what happened. But we'll see how things go the rest of the winter.
I would like to hear from the Weather Service just what their probabilistic forecast in this new thing, like how do they plan to use that in the future? It'd be great to get one of them to chat with us. Come on in. We'll be nice.
I think that'd be great.
I promise.
It's a casual podcast.
It's a casual. It's an exchange of ideas.
Dogs barking. Katie's dog's barking sometimes. Camilla's dog's barking. Even Pepper barks sometimes.
And I didn't get too heated up, did I? I think I calmed down quite a bit from yesterday.
Yeah, you
Totally.
chilled out.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's all good.
You know,
Yeah.
Peace and love.
it was
Yeah.
Valentine's Day after all. There's a
Yeah.
lot to celebrate.
Yeah.
All right. Again, throughout the year we can see various advisories, warnings, watches issued, whether it's a heat advisory or a winter weather advisory or a wind advisory. What does that mean? Well, it really depends on each location you're looking at. And since it's winter, and since we've had winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories issued for various regions, we thought we'd kind of go over some of those, just so you have a better idea of why they're issued. So let's start off with the Cascades. This morning, we went from a winter storm warning to a downgraded winter weather advisory. And I had to refresh my own memory to figure out what is designated a winter storm warning. Why does it get issued for the Cascades? Well, above 2,500 feet, if there's a forecast of 12 inches or more in a 12-hour span or less, above 2,500 feet, then the National Weather Service goes ahead and issues a winter storm warning because they're confident to decide we're going to get a lot of snow in a short period of time. If it's below that mark, 6 to 11 inches in a 12-hour span, then they will issue a winter weather advisory. Any thoughts on that?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Greater than 12 inches in 12 hours, that's fine. Here's the one thing I have seen when this goes on for 2 days. So if you only had 10 inches every 12 hours, so that's 20 inches a day, you could have a 40-inch snowstorm and it never achieves winter storm warning criteria. That's the only problem I have. And they do adjust these. Sometimes I've seen them either go one way or the other based on a specific situation. But there should be a criteria in there that says greater than 24 inches in 24 hours should be a winter storm. Wait, did I say that correctly? Either way, I've seen longer term events where it's like there's 3 feet of snow and we never had a winter storm warning. That's kind of weird. Minor thing, but.
Blizzard warning, sustained wind, 35 miles per hour or greater, and considerable snow falling, essentially lowering the visibility below a quarter mile. So that's what a blizzard warning would be. Let's talk about winter weather advisories for the lowlands. 1 to 3 inches of snow expected in 12 hours.
1 inch.
1
winter
inch.
weather advisory, folks.
Yeah.
1
Now,
inch.
That being said, 1 inch can be a headache, especially if it's right in the heart of the metro area in a rush hour.
Right.
True.
So,
If it's 26 degrees.
Yeah.
I do have something to add to that. It was different. The first, I think, about 10 years of my career, it was 4 inches in the metro area. It used to be called snow advisory. And it was I think it was 4 inches for snow advisory, something like that. And they lowered the criteria because we had an event or two where, obviously they realized there were impacts at under 4 inches.
Yeah.
So, they used to be called snow advisories.
Which, probably has more to do with the timing of the snowfall. Also, I don't know if we mentioned earlier when we were talking about NWS, the cities and counties basically look at what they're issuing to then put out states of emergency and things like that. I think that's important to mention, right? Do you know what kind of the process is for that?
No.
I didn't want to put anyone on the spot. I just know I was texting with a friend who works for the county. She says basically we look at the forecast. I mean, they have a meeting every morning and they have to base their decisions off of their forecast. That's just how it's been, I guess, to mobilize resources, which makes sense. If there's a winter weather advisory, you got to open up shelters. Workers are working overtime to staff those shelters. You're mobilizing the roads crews and things like that. So it just adds another element, I suppose, to that forecast.
Yeah. And I assume they look straight to the government, the National Weather Service forecast. Yeah.
There are a few, I know in the past at least, TriMet would use Phil, I forget, what is the name of the company? Not Phil Collins. Phil Volker, who used to do weather here in the 80s and early 90s. He has a private weather company, and in the past they would contract that out to his service. So we would sometimes hear forecasts like, hey, they're expecting this or that, and I'm like, that's not from the weather service, that's from somewhere else. So some organizations might still be using a private forecast service too.
Interesting.
So this is just one page of, I think, several pages of these watches, warnings, advisories. So I think it would be good if we made that available on our website. I'm going to see if I can work with our digital team to make those documents available.
And let me add, so these are, for specific zones, everybody has their own winter weather criteria. In fact, there's a weather meeting tonight with the Oregon AMS. You can just go to Oregon AMS, find out the details there. They're about to change their zones I think it starts March 1st. We're about to have like triple the number of weather zones in Northwest Oregon and Southwest Washington. So they can better break it. Like the West Hills will be their own forecast zone.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And we should talk about that coming. Well, it's a pretty detailed map, but they're going to talk all about it, the Weather Service. So if you have any questions for the Weather Service, go to that meeting tonight. I can't make it because I've got to work, but I'm sure there'll be some questions about their forecasting too.
I wasn't sure if that map, you shared that map with me, I think like last year, Mark, and it's really interesting to look at, but it's, there's like sensory overload that kind of goes on when you initially look at it because there's so many zones. So I wasn't sure if that was a public map yet, but it sounds like they're making it public
in 2
now.
weeks.
So we should absolutely show that on the podcast, maybe next week or the week after. So
sure,
that is in the cards. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Snow, everybody. We have been picking up some snow in the Cascades and the Gorge, even the Coast Range. That was the first shot was Government Camp, snow-covered roads, Timberline Lodge. Mark is just going through it here. Ski Bowl.
we got to keep this show moving.
Fresh layer of snow at Ski
And the
Bowl.
camera's back. I can't believe it.
Yes.
Sure. There's a nice chunk of ice on it this morning, but that's gone. Okay, and Meadows. So I just wanted to show all the resorts here. Those were taken around 8:30 in the morning. Let's go ahead.
I freshened up this one. That one's like 10 minutes old.
Oh, thank you.
People
Nice.
are getting on the lift. Good day. Yep.
5 to 8 inches through 8 a.m. this morning. Plenty more on the way. Let's just jump right ahead here. State of the snowpack.
This is to keep us on track.
Yeah, that's right.
I got the outline. Yeah, state of the snowpack. What do we have?
It improved a little bit in the state of Oregon. I was seeing more 75% of the normal snowpack readings last week. I see some areas are near normal now.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Washington, not so great.
Not great.
El
By the way,
Nino.
for the folks that are just listening as opposed to seeing our graphics, Washington's snowpack is like 75% or less of normal across most of the state. And Oregon, we have some areas near normal, some areas below normal. We could use more snow right now across both states.
I told my son, not to turn this into Mark's story time, but I told my son we're going to go mountain biking up at, I think, Big White and Silver Star in southern BC, north of Omak, right around 4th of July weekend. He's like, is there still going to be too much snow? And I said, El Nino, you're up there in southern BC. We might be in good shape. So bad for them, but good if you want the snowpack to disappear quickly up there. Look how low it is in the Olympics, 30%.
I thought you were responding to your son, El Nino. Like that's what you call your son? No.
Oh my
No.
gosh.
Dad
I would
joke?
hope not.
I have
That's
some dad
terrible.
jokes now. I'm
That's even
officially
worse
that.
than my jokes.
Okay. All right. Oh, the animation works. Yes. We'll keep looping. All right.
Nice.
This was taken at about 8:30 this morning. You can see system number 1, an area of low pressure and a weak front kind of fizzling out over western Washington. There, Mark's kind of highlighting that. The front
So the
is
low,
moving.
so the surface low did make it north as expected.
Sure did.
I remember yesterday there were some weather geeks saying, "Oh no, it's coming in too far south." They always do that, but it looks like it did make it up there. Yeah.
And then you can see the front moving over the interior northwest, kind of highlighted by those green shades there. By the way, the colors you're seeing, the brighter shades are taller clouds, and the lighter shades are lower clouds.
Right.
So colder, the higher you go, of course, like the orange and the reds. So anywho, what I'm trying to get at here is we have another slug of moisture moving in. I put some arrows on the map there.
Wow.
So that will bring in plenty more snow, and it's going to be a soaker back half of the day and tonight in the lowlands west of the Cascades. So just a quick glimpse at what we're expecting snow-wise. And we've added some new contours to the map here to help out at least some of the colorblind folks out there so they can see what we're forecasting. So we're anticipating somewhere between about, would you guys say 12 to 16 inches of additional snow above 3,000 feet between today and tomorrow morning? Is that a fair assessment?
I haven't worked since Tuesday night. No idea.
Thanks, Mark.
I think so. I mean, based on what I was seeing last night, I feel like that's pretty fair.
All right, perfect. Let's jump to the next graphic then. I think west end of the gorge, probably not going to see a whole lot more snow, especially near river level.
Yeah.
Good point with this graphic. Good point. This is a 4-kilometer resolution model, so it cannot see the gorge, which is what, 2 to 3 kilometers across. So in reality, it should be blank pretty much all along the river west of about Bonneville Dam.
There
Yeah.
you go. But central
Watch
gorge,
out.
eastern gorge,
Mm-hmm.
probably looking at maybe 1 to 4 inches near the river level.
Additional.
4 is probably pushing it a little bit. But Hood River Valley, 6 to 12 inches. I think we're going to get a good amount of snow up there.
Well, I think they've already had a foot or so, right? Did you see the email from somebody said there's about a foot in Odell?
I didn't see that either.
Oh.
No,
They were
that's good to know.
complaining that our reporter was down, I guess, in downtown Hood River, and of course along the river it's milder.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so they're like, get up where there's more snow.
But it looked really nice
Mhm.
out there in Hood River. Central and Eastern Oregon, I think it'll really depend on elevation here. There are going to be some areas that just see a dusting or nothing, but maybe 2 to 4, 2 to 5 inches of snow. Okay, long range forecast. Here we go.
We're going to go short range first.
Oh, short range.
Oh.
Okay.
We have to have a mean sea level pressure map, right?
Yeah, sure.
Along with the 500. We got 500s too, but we'll zoom through this. So the other thing is the east wind is backed off today. We've just got like maybe 3 millibars this, and we expected that. Models did really well with that, but it's coming back strong. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, about 4 millibars. But look how the cold air. So this is 1 p.m. today,
Man.
and then here is 10 p.m. tomorrow night. So you
Wow.
can see that surface high, that cold surface high, really digs in tomorrow night. So the east wind will be strong again in the usual spots. And you can see it on our graph in the middle there. This is just text data today. This is this morning's run today. And then tomorrow, notice the dew point goes down a little bit too. But yeah, strong gusts, 30 to 40 in the usual east wind areas in the metro, and stronger, of course, in the gorge. But no snow, although, I don't have it here. I see the Wharf GFS and tries to produce a touch of snow in the top of the West Hills tonight.
You know
Yeah, I was
what?
going to say tomorrow morning, it kind of looked like there could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, something.
Nam Nest was doing that too, actually.
Oh, it was, huh?
Mhm.
Well, we'll be all over it this afternoon.
Mhm.
And then the and then Saturday the east wind starts to die down, and Sunday it's more reasonable. Okay, long range. Here we go. 500 millibars. Look, I just found this today when I was. Oh, let me do it right. I was able to stop it. How did I stop it? Oh yeah. Wait, what the? Oh, I screwed up. Okay, I'm just bringing everything to a halt. Hide.
It's okay.
Well, where's the stop button?
I like that ridge. It's a nice
I was
ridge.
able to stop
That
it.
is
when
a
I was-
nice
Oh,
ridge.
maybe when I'm in reading view, I can't stop it.
Yeah. You're just
Anyway,
going to have to
so
go with the
this
flow.
is 10 days. 10 days of the euro. The ridging is back. Oh, I mean, we actually have weak ridging over us now. 10 days of the euro, there's really nothing significant happening. So we're back into the mild stuff for 10 days. The only reason we got chilly for these few days is we had a little bit of that surface easterly wind come in. So starting about Sunday, it warms up again. This goes all the way through. This is the euro. And it looks just like this, the GFS next Saturday. So this is Saturday the 24th. Notice there's a little bit of a change. There's kind of this beautiful cyclonic look up across the Gulf of Alaska. Maybe a cold trough wants to drop in. That's Saturday the 24th. So this is almost 10 days out. And this is about 12 days out on the GFS. Now, the GFS can often be okay. 500 millibars and above, it can often be just fine. So that's why I'm using the GFS.
Oh, that's why you're defending the GFS now. Got it.
In this case, upper level, big picture, it's fine. We're talking the little stuff. It's just
Yeah.
the little stuff I don't like. So this is Monday the 26th. This would imply, this is a pattern for nice Cascade snowfall. This is a great pattern for maybe not low elevation snow, but snow in the foothills, snow in the Coast Range. So this would be maybe a snowpack building day or 2 or 3. And you see it in the Euro, the temperature forecast, very mild stuff. We're back in the 50s again. Could we get a 60 next week? Maybe. But back in the 50s, I mean, we can start seeing a 60 here and there once you get to the 20th of February. It's easier to do that. But a lot of 50s next week, calendar week, and then it's cooler leading into the last few days of the month. And this would go with that. So here's the Euro ensemble. Oh, look, it can still snow today on the Euro ensemble. Again, check the temps, check the soundings, ignore that. But look at the lack of any chance for low elevation snow for a week beginning tomorrow, let's say, for a week. I mean, nothing's happening next week, which tells me there's no real chance for snow in the lowlands through at least Sunday the 25th. And if you think we're going to get some sort of big snow and ice event, we're going to run out of time here real quick.
Yeah.
Considering March is right around the corner. But you do see hints of lower elevation, like, foothill snow. Could we be flirting with a dusting of snow overnight at 1,000 feet? Maybe that'll happen in the last few days of the month, maybe.
Boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of trees that are like budding and whatnot in my neighborhood.
Really?
So, yeah, cool down like that, maybe a quick dusting or some frost in early March. It wouldn't be unheard of course, but that would be unfortunate if we have. I mean, that stretch of warm weather, I think things are going to continue progressing toward a spring-like look.
Although the cool wet stuff is no biggie. There is no sign there of Arctic air returning.
That's a good point.
But
we clear out one night, though, in that stretch.
Yeah.
We can get some freezing temps.
True. I mean, we never got a frost out of this whole little episode here. Out of all this excitement. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of excitement, not a lot that went down, but we still have plenty of snow coming to the Cascades. By the way, I think there's going to be I think I said this last week too, good skiing and snowboarding. Bonnie, by the way, was up at Timberline yesterday.
Nice.
The snow was kind of moving in. She said she just didn't want to leave, but of course she had to be on Good Day Oregon this morning. So anywho, safe travels into the Gorge, I-84, or up into the Cascades between tonight and tomorrow. Friday looks like it'll be a windy but dry day, and then we're back to rain and mountain snow heading into the weekend. Have a great rest of the week, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
You're waiting and hesitating, and please tell us